Hi, I'm Shane. This is Final Girl Reviews, and today let's talk about Terrifier 3. Now, I'm going to start this review with a disclaimer. Super gory, violent movies aren't generally at the top of my list of what I like to watch on a regular basis. I watched them, I enjoyed them. I'm a casual fan. Well, I was a casual fan, and I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, I will say I've always had a lot of respect for Damien Leone and the Terrifier franchise. To be an independent filmmaker and build something like this from the ground up and break through into the mainstream to the point where now you can even see animatronics in Spirit Halloween. I think that's pretty incredible and a big testament to his creation and how iconic Art the Clown is. When was the last time we really got an iconic villain like that? Ghostface? Okay, now that that's out of the way, I want to say that this is by far my favorite movie in the entire franchise. I have transcended from casual watcher to major fan. I think it looks so polished without sacrificing any of the gritty, grimy feeling that the first two movies had. The storyline has really tightened up. The acting is top notch, and I really think that the practical effects are what really seal the deal for how much I love this movie. I think the storyline was my biggest problem with the first two. I wouldn't say it was bad writing. I just felt like it really needed a little bit of cleaning up, a little bit of editing. And I will say that the progression from 1 to 2 to 3 is pretty incredible. The storyline really was tightened up, cleaned up, and I know that some of it was left mysterious in the first two, and some of that was kind of pulled together for number 3. Lauren Lavera as Sienna Shaw is the heart of this franchise. Her transition from each movie and the way that she developed her character is pretty impressive to watch. She's an expressive and physical actor, and I really think she might be the final girl of the last decade. David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown is brilliant. His ability to express so much humor while being such a mean and menacing character is so fascinating to me. I think he's a very talented guy, and I don't think these movies would be anything near where they are without his incredible acting abilities. Obviously, I think all of the acting is incredible in this movie, but Terrifier would be nothing without Sienna Shaw and Art the Clown. So let's get into the gore. There has been so much hype about people fainting or leaving the theater or throwing up, and now that I've seen it, I kind of understand why. The gore and violence and brutality are extreme, and it's not really for everyone. And genuinely, that's okay. I said it in my first reaction, and I'll say it here again. I'm a seasoned horror watcher. I've seen a lot of horrific things in movies, and even I found myself wanting to peek through my fingers while watching this movie because it was a lot. And here's where I get into some spoilers. I want to talk about a few scenes that were extra difficult for me to watch that really stuck in my head when I left the theater, and I've seen a lot of people talking about these same scenes online, so let's get into it. The opening sequence was difficult to watch. We all know that Damien Leone is not afraid to push boundaries, and we also knew from the beginning, from teasers and from previous movies, that he is not afraid to hurt a kid. While I appreciated not actually having to see him chop up a little kid, the sound effects were difficult to listen to. The squelching, the thunking, the blood splattering. It was loud and uncomfortable. I also appreciate that we didn't have to see him attack the little girl from the opening scene. He really knows where to draw a line in the sand, and I think the movie is better for it. The second scene that really stuck in my head that I didn't really expect from this movie was the broken mirror shard that Vicky uses during the scalping. I will say it was a little surprising to see a scene like that in this movie. The Terrifier movies aren't really known for being overly sexually violent. I do think it worked in the grand scheme of things, and it definitely did its job, making me want to crawl back inside of myself and stop watching. Another scene that I think most people will agree was the hardest to watch was the rat scene. I think everybody was at their like horror movie adrenaline limit because it was toward the end. It was an emotionally distressing scene, and it was really taken to the next level of brutality. I understand why it would make somebody feel queasy. I felt a little queasy watching it, but what else can we expect from these movies? I think the second most talked about scene is the shower scene, and I really want to talk about that in combination with another conversation that's been ongoing about Damien Leone and Terrifier, which is the misogyny claims. There's a scene in which a girl is sawed in half without getting too graphic here. I don't want to get flagged for anything. From her down. There's a girl who is sawed in half upside down. There we go. That works maybe to explain what happens. And since then, it has been a big kind of accusation that I've seen people throw at Damien Leone, saying that he's a misogynist, that he hates women, that Art the Clown specifically hates women. Horror is kind of known for being a little misogynistic. Women are sliced and diced in pretty much every single horror movie that you can imagine, especially like the slashers from the 80s. And I don't really see a lot of people calling out anybody specifically a lot of the time. So I don't really know why it's been specific toward Damien Leone. I think maybe because of his success going from independent all the way up this trajectory, they want to find something wrong with him. But I would have to say I never really felt that way. Definitely a feminist that like cares about these topics. And now the shower scene felt to me like a little bit of a fuck you to the people who called Damien Leone a misogynist. He said, "Oh, well, you think that was bad. Let me show you what I can do to a guy with a chainsaw." The scene really goes on and on and on. It is bloody and disgusting, and the specific violence toward a specific region really just felt like him saying like, hey, that's not me. Art the Clown is really just a disgusting monster. I'll say some of the off-screen deaths worked and some left me feeling frustrated. The mall scene with the children after he hands out the presents. I think it's better that it was just a big explosion. Now, if I had a complaint about Terrifier 3, it would be the off-screen death of Jonathan. But I have a theory about that. I think his letters to Sienna about the little pale girl, who we did not see at all, which made me very sad, and him asking Sienna about the sword. I know he was trying to move on with his life, but I think there's more to it than that. And I think it's going to set up something really good in the fourth movie, at least a flashback, something. I don't think they would just discard Jonathan like that without some kind of something from him in the next movie. Now, I want to talk about my favorite scenes. And first up is the Santa scene. It's probably my favorite out of the whole movie. The part where he looks kind of menacingly and the tension builds between everybody, and then he pulls out the horn. It was probably the funniest thing in the entire movie. I am still laughing about it. Also, I predict the moment where Art kind of fangirls over Santa will definitely become a viral kind of meme sort of thing, probably on CapCut. And Sienna finally loses it. She really lets loose on the true crime girlfriend and releases all of those feelings of frustration and anger about not really being understood or seen for what she's been through. And I just thought the acting was stellar. One of the scenes that I want to talk about, I have seen some commentary online about how some people have felt that it was kind of pointless and unnecessary to the story. And I personally really felt like it was important and integral to the story and Sienna's character development. So I'm just here to loudly disagree with all of you. You can talk shit in the comments if you want. And that scene is the flashback scene with Sienna and her dad. I thought The whole montage between her, you know, talking to him and having like a really sweet moment with him, especially after all we've really heard was that he got really abusive at the end of his life and then died in like a fiery death. To see them have like a loving, sweet father daughter relationship was really cool. And then to take it a step further and have this like really tense kind of scary moment between them where she goes into this like dream sequence with the Virgin Mary statue and the like kind of creature demon that's like hammering and making the sword. It felt very Lynchian and surreal, and I just loved the whole sequence. It really added to the whole supernatural, paranormal, religious, whatever kind of theme that they're going with in this. And I really want to defend it because I think it was important to the story. It was important to Sienna's character development, and I think it's going to be really important in the next movie. Another funny part that I've only seen a couple people mention was during the finale, maybe because the finale was so heavy and brutal. But every time Art walks past Sienna while she's tied up in the chair, he smacks her upside the head. And I genuinely laughed out loud every time that he did it. It just added the perfect extra touch of meanness and comedy to it. It was just chef's kiss. And now let's talk about the finale. It was dark and it was brutal and it was so beautifully shot. And I feel like it really added so much to the overall story. It really confirmed, which we already knew, but just to see this like kind of supernatural event happen and watch Gabby fall into the pit of hell, I guess, was just devastating for Sienna. That's her last family member that she has to hold on to after everything she's been in. To watch her fall into that pit was devastating. I'm so genuinely impressed with Terrifier 3. I cannot recommend it enough. I will never stop singing its praises. I think what Damien Leone and the whole crew has done building up their success till now is amazing, and I am forever a fan. Couldn't be happier for them and their success. So please let me know what you think down in the comments. I feel like most people who like the Terrifier movies, who like slasher, gory kind of flicks in general, will be going to see it. But I'm curious, are you going to break out of your comfort zone and go see this in theaters? Is it something that you feel like is worth checking out, even if it's not usually your jam? I'd really like to know. Also, I really recommend seeing it in theaters. I think it's really important to support independent filmmakers, and our movie theaters need our help. So definitely, if you can, go see it in a theater. I think it's well worth your time and money. Also, if you like what I do, I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. I'd love to see a follow. I would love to follow back. I'd love to say hello. I really do want to build a kind of horror community where I have a lot of people to talk to about movies. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.